Hey guys, it's Tina. Welcome back to my channel where I ask you to picture what financial freedom looks like to you and we talk about ways to get there. Today, I want to speak about a topic a little bit different. Well, not terribly different. As you've all figured out by now, while my main goal is to help you all become free of the trap of debt and to grow your wealth so that you can have financial freedom and pursue a life you really want, I do care a lot about self-help. As a matter of fact, I have a goal for 2020 that if you watched my planning video, you'll know is to read 2 books every month throughout 2020. I just made the decision that one of those books must be fiction and the other one can be nonfiction because I devoted myself so wholly to reading nonfiction books about self-help and improvement and entrepreneurship that I need to just incorporate something else. I need to broaden my horizons and learn more from the valuable stories that people have to tell. There is one book that I have read a while ago, actually, not in 2019, I think, honestly, 4 or 5 years ago, but it's worth bringing up now. And it's called Think and Grow Rich by Napolean Hill. This is a book that spans both of the genres I love the most: personal finance, wealth building, financial independence, and self-help, personal development, and making a better you. If you haven't read this book, it is a gem. It's written a long time ago, and Napoleon Hill was a mentee of Dale Carnegie. So he had access to extremely influential people. I find this stuff fascinating, and I encourage all of you to look into it because it's fascinating. How could you not want to? But that being said, I'm going to focus this video on one component of that book, and that component of the book is about leadership. Napoleon Hill has a quote in there, and I won't read all of it, but it goes along this lines. Most great leaders begin in the capacity of followers. They become great leaders because they were intelligent followers. This is so true. As a manager who's been managing for about 15 years, I have seen people who were difficult followers, counterproductive, resistant, and then not necessarily under, my area, but these people will take another job and they'll become a leader or a manager or a supervisor in their own right, and I watch them struggle. And I think you're struggling because you never understood that leadership starts in being a follower, being a good follower, and being a good servant. I am a huge proponent of servant leadership, and I feel that this is the most powerful way to serve your company, serve your teams, and frankly, to even serve yourself. Napoleon Hill espouses a similar idea, although he goes into much greater detail in the way that he feels about this. So I'm going to cover the leadership attributes that he feels are the most important, and I'm going to have to read my screen a little bit because it's a lot of content and I want to get it right. So get ready, guys, because here we go. Unwavering courage based upon knowledge of self and one's occupation. People must have confidence in their leader. Without it, there is little or no confidence in the mission. Intelligent followers will see this. They may advise the leader to change, but ultimately they will seek other opportunities if the leader obviously lacks courage and understanding of himself and his position. Once they leave, the team consists of a weak leader and poor followers. At this point, it is doomed for failure. I have absolutely witnessed this. And I'm going to keep trudging on, but I want to have a few comments about this at the end. So I'm going to talk through what these attributes are. I'm going to read to you the main attributes and then some thoughts I have about each of these attributes. And then at the end, I am going to circle back and comment on a few of these as a sort of summary. Self-control. This is based on the idea of leading by example. If you cannot control yourself, including your emotions, responsibilities, schedules, and appetites, how can you expect to control others? If you show discipline for yourself, you set a strong example that some followers will emulate, and your team will be further strengthened. A keen sense of justice. When you act unfairly, resentment brews. To retain the respect of your team, you must be fair. Definiteness of decision. This ties back to confidence as well. Sticking with your decision is one of the most important ways to show confidence. It is much more desirable for a leader to be consistent and change her mind slowly than it is for her to flip-flop with every bit of new information. Lack of surety will lead to lack of success. Definiteness of plans. Plans set the direction and tempo of the work to be done. Hill writes, "The successful leaders must plan his work and work his plan. Guesswork can lead you to a dead end and some other location that you do not desire to be in. The habit of doing more than paid for. Leaders must be prepared to do more than they require of their followers. Furthermore, they should build an entrepreneurial gap, which I've talked about before, and I will link to that video for you. When you do this, your followers will see you doing it and they will learn by example. A pleasing personality is also important. Simply put, it's difficult to respect people you don't like. If you got a bad attitude and you're full-time snark, people will notice that and they won't want to work with you. More so, you need to also be pleasing in your appearance. If you constantly look disheveled and out of place, people will not admire you and they will definitely not look to emulate your behaviors. Sympathy and understanding. Teamwork calls on people to work together, so it makes sense that a strong leader should be a people person. In other words, he should care about his followers and have understanding for who they are and the problems they face, both at home and in the workplace. I strongly feel that when things are in disorder at home, they will be in disorder in the workplace as well. There is no work-life separation anymore, especially in this day of age with technology where we're always available. If somebody has a problem at home, you have to know as a leader that there's a good chance you're also going to be, to some degree, a counselor. Mastery of detail. Organization and familiarity of a position's finer responsibilities is important. In other words, keep track of what you need to get done. Make sure that you don't drop the balls. In doing so, you hold other people accountable and they likewise will drop the balls less. If a leader doesn't stay apprised of the work that needs to be done and who's going to complete it, there's a good chance that careless mistakes will be made. Willingness to assume full responsibility. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so important and I've witnessed it in my own career so many times. You have got to be accountable for the mistakes of the people that report to you. You cannot throw them under the bus. You can hold them accountable and you should hold them accountable, but you have to personally take the hit when the leaders come down to you. If they force you to say who prompted the mistake, you can choose to tell them, and frankly, you probably shouldn't dismiss your leaders and just tell them, but the bottom line is you are accountable for their mistakes and you have to acknowledge that even as you put forward their name. And then cooperation. This is the last one that Hill mentions. And he says this: leadership calls for power and power calls for cooperation. Nothing gets done in a bubble, so it is imperative that leaders understand and apply principles of cooperative effort. So true. When you work as a team, you accomplish big things. Nobody works alone, and frankly, people blow my mind all the time where they say, I don't trust anyone, I work alone. Baloney. You trust people even just driving down the road. You trust that they're going to stop at a red light and a stop sign and that you're going to have your turn to go. So throw away this idea that you can do it alone and that you don't have to trust anyone, because life requires trust and cooperation just to function on a daily basis, let alone as a leader in a team. As somebody who's been in a leadership role for a long time, there were several things that he mentioned that I feel very strongly about. And I think that we should all, or anybody wanting to be in a leadership role, needs to incorporate into their mentality of leadership. The first one is fairness. You have to be fair as a leader. You cannot let the rules apply to one person and not to another person. You have to hold everybody accountable in the same way. You have to measure their success in the same way. The scale of how you choose to give people pay increases needs to be consistent. There has to be standardization in how you lead your people so that they know that you're not doing favoritism. Because if they can find out and if they can prove that you have favoritism, and let's be honest, there's going to be personalities you like to work with more than others, but you can't let that show in how you make your decisions. You can show it in that you have community and camaraderie with that particular person, but you really, really, really need to base your decisions on something standardized and fair. You have to be decisive. One of the biggest lessons that I learned early on in my career is that it is better to make a decision and then course correct down the way than it is to make no decision at all. Paralysis of decision is a death knell. I mean, it is a way for your team to believe that you have no confidence and that you are indecisive. And the worst is when you force your team to make a decision for you and then it goes badly and you throw them under the bus for it. If you do that, you deserve a smack in the face. It is wrong on so many levels. You need to be accountable for your decisions, and if you delegate that decision, you're accountable for that decision too. You can definitely make wise decisions. If you've been in a role for a long time, it becomes easier to make intuitive, on-the-fly decisions, but no matter what, you have to make decisions. When I was first coming into a couple teams, I had to make decisions, and guess what? They blew up in my face. I remember one decision where I was on an availability call for hours, and some bigwig was like, "Who said you could put this back in rotation?" It was a technology that was failing. And I had to me, I did it. My engineers were on the call with me, and I'll tell you right now, 2 of them approached me afterward. Well, one of them immediately afterward and one later on approached me and said, "Thank you for saying that. Thank you for not throwing us under the bus." And can I tell you that those people don't report to me any longer, haven't for years, but they still hit me up every so often to say, "Hey, do you have any openings in your organization, and can I come back to work for you?" Big deal, guys. I'm telling you, it's a big deal. I also want to highlight planning. Planning is also a big deal. I mean, for crying out loud, I'm not going to go into it big time because I talk about it all the time, but set a plan, write it down, determine your milestones. You know the drill. It's important. People need to know where you want them to go, and they need to know how to get there. Lastly, I advise people all the time who ask me, "Hey, I want to go into management. Do you think it's a good role for me?" And I never tell anybody that it isn't a good role for them or that it is a good role for them. I just stick to the facts. And the facts are this. As a manager and as a leader, 10% of your job is going to be what you think a manager does, that administrative stuff. The other 90% is going to consist in varying amounts, so percentages will fluctuate, but it will consist of project management, it will consist of conflict resolution, and it will consist of counseling your people. You will learn so much about people and the hardships that they face, and some of it will be gut-wrenching. And if you're a prayerful person, I do advise that this is a time for you to lean on that higher power you believe in and pray for your people. And I'll be honest with you, I pray for my people, I pray for my bosses, I pray for my company. Nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, it's a good thing to do because, we could all use prayer. Anyway, guys, those were the attributes of leadership that Napoleon Hill discusses, and I think they're spot on. I'm a servant leader, and I feel that much of what he discusses is representative of what I believe as a servant leader, and also what I believe is the truth about leading people. People are so consistent in what they need, whether you're a parent or whether you're a Cub Scout leader or whether you're a volunteer, a head of a volunteer department, or whether you do this for your, daytime job. People are consistent and they all want the same things from the people they take direction from. And I feel that much of that is espoused in Napoleon Hill's Attributes of a Leader. I hope you enjoyed it. I will leave a link below for where you can get a copy of this book, and I'll see you guys in the next video.